Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Online Permitting Now. My name is Greg Stevenson, and I will be moderating today's session. With local government offices closed due to the COVID-19 outbreak, permitting activities have slowed and oftentimes stopped completely. Timmons Group and Cityworks have partnered to assist these localities and utilities migrate their permitting applications to the web. During this webinar, you'll find out how our simple, rapidly deployed turnkey solution will migrate this process online and keep construction projects moving forward, local developers working, permitting fees flowing, and your local economy active. This program will last approximately 60 minutes. We'll give a brief overview of our online permitting solution and then proceed with the demo. If you have a question at any point during today's presentation, you may submit it via the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. Our speakers for today from Timmons Group, Ron Butcher, Lou Garcia, and Michael Edwards, and from Cityworks, Matt Harmon. Ron, let's kick us off.
Thanks. Well, first of all, hello and welcome to this webinar. I'm Ron Butcher, Director of Asset Management Services for Timmons Group. Today, we're really excited. We're going to give you a talk and demo on a rapid response implementation of PLL and public portal in the Cityworks online environment. Our goal and the goal of this program is to get you configured, running, and trained within a 30-day period, which we think is really important, especially with what's going on right now. And you know, really the goal is to facilitate online permit intake and processing. Sorry, had some audio glitches. So now I'm going to give you a couple of dad jokes to kind of lighten the mood and get the webinar started. So the first dad joke is going to go out to Matt. So Matt, take yourself off mute. And here is your question for today. Why do seagulls fly over the sea?
Why do seagulls fly over the sea? I don't know, Ron.
Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels.
Very good. Good one. I'll write that one down.
All right, Lou, take yourself off mute.
I'm off mute.
All right, Lou. Why were people so excited when the shovel was invented?
I don't know. They really dug it?
No, because it was a groundbreaking invention.
Good.
All right.
I'll use it on my kids.
You all are laughing hysterically at these wonderful jokes. I'm going to go through and turn this over to Lou, who's going to go through. At first, we have a little poll for you to see how well I did. But we're going to turn this over to Lou, who's going to start you into the presentation and really show you the program. And then, like I said, Matt's going to then take it from there, and he's going to also do a live demo of what we're talking about today. If you have any questions, send them in, and periodically we'll be jumping in with polls as well as, you know, questions. Okay. With that, Lou, take it away, and I'm putting myself on mute.
All right, Ron. Thank you. I'm watching the progress here. It looks like we have to get you a talent scout. I like it. All right. Well, without further ado, we will move on then. My name is Lou Garcia. I manage business development within our asset management and community management community development group here at Timmons Group. Timmons, real quick, is a platinum partner with Cityworks. We've been a business partner with them for 16, almost 17 years. We've done a little over 95 projects during that time, and have a lot of exciting things to go over with you in a few minutes here, along with my colleague at Cityworks, who I will allow him to introduce himself, Matt Harmon. Matt?
Hello, everyone. I've been at Cityworks for about 14 years and had a bunch of different roles over that period, but right now I focus on business development and our sales growth in the Western United States.
Great. Thanks, Matt. All right, so as Greg kind of alluded to in the introduction, we've had a lot of conversations with our existing Cityworks clients and other clients that Timmons has that are developers and our local governments, and we've been hearing a pretty constant theme throughout these discussions. Kind of 2 points here to make. One is that with having to work remotely, I think a lot of local governments are struggling to get permit data into their existing workflows and processes. Likely because you may not have a formalized online presence, and or just you haven't gotten around to making kiosks or just the ability for your citizens and your developers to get online and submit data, or maybe just the lack of data that you're getting, or you're not getting the data in the correct format for you to be able to do the work you need to in processing these. So that's one major theme we're hearing. The second is that we're hearing from disgruntled citizens, disgruntled developers, that they feel that the services being offered to them are hindering their ability to get things done today because of the issues we're all facing, the work from home and social distancing. So the frustration on their side is rising. They can't move forward. They can't do projects. And the ripple effects are just felt everywhere. It's slowing down your economy. It's slowing down your permitting fee collection, and just it's creating frustration on your side and the local government side as well. So we kind of kicked around a couple ideas. This took a little while to bake with Cityworks, and we feel we've got a good solution here. It's a little bit radical, and want to go through this real quick. But really, what we're looking at is an expedited implementation of Cityworks. So it's Cityworks PLL Online in their SaaS environment. We're going to show that to you in a few minutes. We're also going to offer up PLL Respond, which is a tablet-based tool, just to make it easy for your citizens to get online and submit permit data to you. We're looking for up to basically 10 permits. We would enable fee collection online through the portal, and we're going to get you up and live within 30 days, and included within that would be basically 2 days of user training for your staff. So to give you a better idea of what that looks like, I'm going to turn over control to Matt right now, and he can demo the solution to you. Greg, I think you had a poll real quick first.
Yes, here you go. We just kind of wanted to find out who here actually uses Cityworks, or who here has maybe doesn't have it, or maybe never even has heard of it. So we'll let this poll go up for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. And so while everyone's finishing that poll, we know many of you are existing customers who use Cityworks solutions currently, and many of you are brand new to Cityworks, and all of us, regardless, are just trying to adjust to this time of disruption. And to everyone, thank you for taking the time today to let me share some ideas with you on how our solutions can help your organizations. So Cityworks is the original and leading GIS-centric asset management system built exclusively on Esri's ArcGIS. Our platform is designed to help local governments and utilities manage public assets and their associated data, work activities, and business processes. We are also a platinum partner of Esri, and our strong focus on customer success has resulted in a high client retention rate of our more than 700 customers throughout the world. We also have a large network of implementation and technology partners to help organizations succeed. And our focus is really connecting the physical and digital worlds to help build safe, resilient, and smarter communities. As a publicly traded company, we're required to inform you to not make any financial decisions based on the information provided in this presentation, and future software features will be released at the sole discretion of Cityworks. But online permitting now, I know all of us have felt this disruption of the current health crisis. As Lou and Greg were saying, facility closures have made it difficult to keep business continuity with your customers, especially at cities and utilities who rely on paper and other physical or in-person methods to process permits. I think many of us have also been surprised at how quickly our organizations were able to adapt new technology to work remotely and still be productive. So we feel there's been a rapid adapting of technology in the last 4 to 6 weeks, and we think that we can leverage that paradigm shift that has gone on at a lot of your organizations. And so as we watch organizations adapt over the past month, we think many are more ready than they previously thought they were to adopt online permitting. So I'll be providing a software demo of our solution, and then we'll discuss how rapid deployment can be successful by prioritizing what can be set up quickly in Cityworks now, and then expanded and enhanced in future phases. We also challenge you to think of new ways to manage your permitting processes. So if we look at the basics of a permit, almost all permit types have these 3 elements. They have an application, they have fees, and they have a workflow. The application is just a form that is collected, so it's just data about the project. The fees are typically calculated based off of that project data from the application, or they might just be a simple flat fee. Some permits don't even require a fee. I know I pulled a basement permit for my home last year and no fees were required, as they were paid with the original building permit when the home was constructed. Workflow is the internal process required by the organization to review, approve, issue, inspect, and close a permitting activity. So I'm going to change this logo to a building that represents City Hall, okay, or your utility headquarters. So workflow is largely what goes on amongst your staff, the people, and the information that you are doing to process permits. So depending on the permit type, workflows can be very simple or they can be more complex. And we want to emphasize that even though a permit's workflow might be complex, there are still steps in that workflow that we can deploy quickly. And so I'll discuss that a little bit later on in the webinar. And so basically we have a customer that needs to submit an application, pay fees, and in return we'll get a permit. So Cityworks Online Public Access is our bridge between the 2 parties. And to do this in under 30 days, we're proposing that Cityworks manages the application submittal and paying fees through our online portal, while the internal workflow at your organization remains largely as it is today. So whatever you're doing now to process permits, you'll likely keep doing this, but we'll enhance it with Cityworks to connect digitally to customers, that application, that fee, and other relevant information. Remember, there will be time in the future to set up Cityworks for internal workflow optimization, but full implementations can take more time. So rather than trying to do all of this now, we challenge you to focus on the areas of the permitting process that are easy and move these online. So let's get into a software demo so you can see how this looks. I'm going to start as a customer submitting a permit application for a single family home. So one of the more complex permit types. We'll then review how the internal staff see this. We'll also take an online payment using the PayPal gateway and then issue the building permit and allow the customer to print it off. Let me close out my PowerPoint slide here and we'll come to a couple of examples. So first, I want to give you an example of a current customer of Cityworks. So this is the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. It's just north of Atlanta. So this is their webpage, and you could go there to their website. one thing that I like that they've done to connect digitally to customers is they've really made it simple. So right up top, there's a report, pay, and apply section. And so a customer at the city or a resident or a business can engage with the city digitally in this single area of their website. And on the apply side, our permitting portal is right here. So this is a look at the Cityworks permitting portal at a current customer. And you can see how it's been branded to match their website and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we'll come into the Cityworks public portal. Okay. So the Cityworks public portal, this is my demo environment. And so think of the Cityworks permitting portal as any other online store. Your organizations are simply selling permits instead of merchandise. So customers can quickly create an account. They can also apply as a guest. And I've got a login here. So I'll go ahead and type in my information and log in. Once logged in, I can see the applications I've submitted, as well as their status. Since Cityworks is built on the Esri and ArcGIS solutions, we've always got a map. Map's always available for me to look at, whether I'm a customer of the city or I'm an internal employee. I can view the status and just real simple information about my permit. Now let's go ahead and start a new application. So to do that, I'll click this. And we can organize your application types in the categories that you define. So I've got some categories here. We'll go to my building permits and residential, new construction, and find my permit type. So when I select on that, there's some nice simple tools that allow you to communicate information about that project to your customer. And they can click this, and then we can begin our application. Now we can begin to fill out the application. The application is organized in these 5 simple sections. And so as a user, I can give my project a description. We'll just kind of play on words here and say this is COVID Hills Lot 19. Then of course I can go over and find an address, or I could type in an address. Okay, so depending on your use of Esri, right, we could use just a public map service available through ArcGIS Online, or we could add a base map or a map service that you have already existing at the organization. With my address selected, click next, and then we'll go and we'll fill out our people information. So I'm logged in and I'm the applicant, so I'll go ahead and just copy my information down as the applicant. I'll add a quick property owner, put in an address, and then as the contractor, I'm logged in as again, so I'll copy my information down there as well. We'll hit next, and then we move on to our project data. So this is where we're capturing your applications in a digital format. So these are custom fields that are easily created in Cityworks to track that information. And the pink row here is required. So we'll just add 2,200 square feet. We can put in cost of construction, a dollar amount. We can add a date. Okay, so this is a form builder that Timmons would work with you to create and replicate your applications on the public portal. But hopefully you see that it's easy for a customer to fill out and supply you with the information for their permit application. All right, we'll finish this. Put in some setbacks. and then move on to our next step. The next step here is files. So we can take file attachments and upload documents to the system. So I've got some residential files here. You can also specify required document types to help organize the information you need to collect from the applicant. So we'll go ahead and add our engineering calculations, drag that over, as well as our house plan set. We can assign labels to each one of these, and that will let me move on to complete my application. The next step is payment. So payments, there's a lot of ways we can set up payments in Cityworks, including when fees or payments are made against the permit. But for now, I've got a PayPal point of sale system set up here. You can specify some terms and conditions that you want to define for taking online payments. And then of course we can go and actually take the payment. So to do that, I'll click Pay Now, and this is going to launch the PayPal point of sale gateway, where I can log in with a PayPal account or just pay with a credit card, depending on your preferences. So here's my Matt's PLL test store, and I'll pay it with my Visa credit card and then hit continue. And so that'll take me back to Cityworks and also submit my permit application. So here's the application that's been submitted to the city for review. And again, at any time as a customer, I could log in and review this information and track its status. Okay, so again, your organization will be unique, and the permit types you prioritize for this solution will be up to you. However, as I said earlier, all permit types have these common elements, right? They have application, they have fees, they have that basic data. And so by focusing just on what's quick and easy to configure in Cityworks, we can have a solution like this available in a short amount of time. And I think your customers will like this, right? This is something that they could do from their home and still allow you to maintain that business continuity. Okay, so let's go look at the Cityworks respond side of this. So this would be what most of you would probably be using. So your customers here, and then we'll go ahead and view Cityworks. So when you log into Cityworks as an internal user, the first place you come to is your dashboard. Dashboards are simple to create, and they communicate a lot of information efficiently. And so because we're interested in a rapid deployment, I've set up my permits to have 2 phases. So I've got permits that are in review, and I have permits that are issued. Okay? You can also set up nice charts to summarize your activities, counts, and so forth. So this is all available, readily, with this deployment. Okay. I can also have a recent list. Okay, nice feature here where I can view, activities that I've clicked on in the past. And then of course I will have a map. Okay, and so my map, I can slide over and view more information about what's going on. And so again, to keep it simple, I've organized my permits and the icons that you see here in just 2 status codes. So we turn on our legend. I can see I've got issued building permits, whether commercial or residential, and then permits that are in review. So those are my green check boxes. My homes are my residential, and my little building would be my commercial permits that are issued. And so I can interact with the map and view this information, the permit data and so forth, right from within Cityworks. Okay. And so I'm going to do a quick refresh, and we can see that my permit that I submitted here, my COVID Hills Lot 19, is in my in review list. We'll go ahead and open that up. So when I open up my permit, Okay, I'm going to view more information that was submitted. Because Cityworks can organize your information efficiently, a lot of the permits contain a lot of data, right? There's a lot of information that we need to track. And so each of the panels that you see here, that have collapsed them all, is our way of efficiently organizing that data in the system. So we'll expand them and we can go through each one of these. So my main panel is just showing me what the project is, you know, brief description, the location of it, the status, who's this assigned to in my organization. If I want to assign it to myself or to another employee, I can do that. Okay, there's a comment section where we can add comments and take notes. Okay. The people information, you've already seen this. This is what was entered by the applicant. We captured an email address so we can have the system notify them automatically. Attachments, okay, the information about the permit. All right, this was all in. We can adjust those amounts. We know a lot of times this will result in the fee calculation. Okay, and those could be adjusted here. Attachments, I can easily click and download an attachment. Okay, have that open up and, you know, look at that plan set. My fee calculations, and then of course my payments. So just in this example, I already took the payment through PayPal, so that's listed here. But hopefully you're seeing that this is easy to navigate, and you can track a lot of information by focusing on what you can do now. So by focusing on what you can do now, implementing an online permitting solution does not need to be a massive undertaking. And I think that's really the goal of what we're trying to communicate here. We've got some nice simple features within the Cityworks core application, as well as some nice simple features for your customers to use. So this solution can work well for permits that have both simple and complex workflows. And the full power of the Cityworks solution can be configured at a future date. So as I said earlier, your internal process, right? What happens at City Hall and what you're doing now to process an application like a new single family building permit, that would largely stay the same, right? We're just we're augmenting that and enhancing that with being able to capture some key information that's required as part of the process. So you would go doing that, and then let's go ahead and issue this permit. So I can quickly change the status to issued and save that. That can send a notification to my applicant or my contractor, which would provide them a link to go and log into the public portal. So I'll go back to our public portal as the customer view. We'll click this. It's now issued, and you could even allow them to print it from here. So we'll go ahead and print this, and I've just got, you know, a sample permit form that could be deployed. So that is the basic overview of online permit from an applicant, customer submitting an application, all the way through marking it as issued in Cityworks and so forth. And if we come back into Cityworks and go back to our dashboard, you know, that permit would move from in review to issued. So there's the software demo portion of this. Let me return to our PowerPoint, because I know many of you may be wondering, how do you prioritize your permit types? Like, which one should you focus on? We know some of them are more complex than others. So let's go ahead and discuss that a little bit more. So first, each organization on this webinar is unique, and your priorities will be dependent upon your situation. So I want to use a simple 2x2 priority matrix to help determine where we should focus. And so I want each of you to make a mental note or even write down which permit types come to your mind as I share this slide, because I think your instincts will be right on where you can focus. So first, let's start with permit volume. Okay, what are your most frequently requested permits? Let's plot that against the workflow steps to measure the effort that this permit application requires. So how complex is the process? So the more steps, the more time it takes to configure and set up, but that's okay. Using the priority matrix, we can quickly identify the bottom quadrants would have low benefit in a rapid deployment, lower volume, more complex permits, not the priority right now. So let's focus on those top two quadrants where our quick wins can be. And so for permit types that are higher volume with fewer steps, these are our quick wins. And so we can focus here first. And then second, we prioritize permits which are higher volume but require more effort. And as I said throughout the presentation here, the complex workflows are okay because what we'll do is we'll be smart and we'll focus on the steps within that workflow that can be quickly deployed and allow additional logic and features to be configured at a future date. So we'll add those to the list as well. Both of these are important because our high volume permits, they impact your customer service. We feel like your organizations may be feeling a lot of pressure on these, but also they represent a large portion of the revenue that you collect at your agencies. And so another way to look at quick wins versus more effort, quick wins simply mean there's minimal plan review and there's fewer people involved. And then the permits that require a little more effort, detailed plan review, and there's more people involved. But both of those have application, they have fees. And as I've demonstrated, hopefully you see how we can deploy that quickly. We can also do things like look at our status codes and treat applications more in just an in review status and an issue status as we try to rapidly deploy this. And so if we look at this again, our permit types and workflows, these are just some examples in our experience that we've had. And again, your organization will be unique, but for quick wins, if you're a water or sewer utility, you've got meter connection permits, start, stop services, and so forth. So those can be pretty simple. Building departments, your minor electric, plumbing, HVAC, accessory buildings, minor alterations, sign permits, some of the right-of-way permits, and so forth. So a lot of quick win options for this. The more complex, the more effort. They're important because they generate revenue, but they involve more people. So new building construction, alterations, the site development process, and so forth. But regardless of whether the permit type has an easy or complex workflow, by focusing on the steps in the process that can be deployed quickly, as we are proposing, your organization can better serve your customers now. After the immediate need passes, we then hope to work with you to further configure Cityworks to provide complete workflow automation and optimization and deploy the full functionality of our solution to help you better manage your internal workflows and provide better service to your customers. And so look, here's where we're at. A business disruption that impacts your ability to connect with customers can come in multiple flavors. Today's risk is a pandemic and social distancing, but future risks are still on the horizon. They might be natural disasters, cyber threats, or even something as simple as staff turnover. Technology provides solutions and a better way to mitigate these risks. And so we hope you see how Cityworks is flexible to meet the immediate and long-term needs of your organization by connecting the physical and digital worlds to help build safe, resilient, and smarter communities. And so our goal with this rapid deployment offering is meeting the challenges of today and then setting your organization up for sustained success over the long term. And so with that, I will hand it back to Lou.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I wanted to tie up our presentation here and get to the Q&A. Let's see, we've got 27 questions to go over when I finish up here in a second. So just to tie this up, why is it important to move forward in this direction? Through our presentation and Matt's demo of the software, I think we've shown you that we can set you up to operate remotely, and then we can make that as seamless as possible. We can do this in as quickly as 4 weeks. I'll give you some more details about that in a few minutes. Through Matt's demo, I hope you saw how easy it is to use, how friendly. It's very turnkey. I think if people are used to using Facebook and tools like that, they can very rapidly use this tool to apply for permits and your staff process those. We can process your payments remotely. And really, we're hoping to migrate as much as possible of your communications with these permit applications online. So, last slide here. What we're looking at is, you know, when we get down to this, what exactly would you be purchasing? So what we're looking at is a $25,000 fee that would get you Cityworks Online, get you the portal. Timmons Group will provide the professional services to configure it, to do the website alterations that we were looking at. Matt showed you the city of Alpharetta, their branding, etc. We would give you 2 days of training and support on the system moving forward. We've designed this hopefully so it can be done within discretionary funding limits. We don't want you to have to go to RFP because that's just going to delay this, and then you can't stand by the 30 days. And, you know, we do have contract vehicles that are available nationwide. Some points I wanted to make is that this is not a full-scale implementation, but it is scalable. It's a complete intake permitting solution, and there is no reason that this could not run in parallel with a full implementation of PLL. So this could kind of be your phase one, get you started, get people excited, get the public involved, and we could then go and do a full-scale implementation of PLL as a phase two. Matt hit on this, but I'm going to reiterate, you know, what are some things you can do now to get ready for this? First would be to get a list of those permits. You know, you could do that this afternoon. You could do that tomorrow. Start looking at your listing of permits, and as Matt showed you, to prioritize those, whether they're based on volume or value to you. And then look at your fee schedules as well. So that would be information we would want to look at to help you get going as quick as possible. With that, I am going to go ahead and get into the Q&A unless Matt wanted to say anything else here. So I'm going to move forward with that and start at the very beginning. So first question was, how many places have implemented this specific product being outlined today? So I guess a double answer here. First, no one. This is a new offering, this program. But Cityworks PLL with the portal is deployed in, I'm going to say it's over 100 locations today. Matt, do you have a more definitive number on that one?
Yes. So the Cityworks PLL solution for permitting is in, over 100 organizations throughout the country. And those are cities, utilities, water, wastewater utilities, counties, and so forth.
All right. Second question. We have a contract to implement PLL this year, but the project is on hold due to reduced capacity. How would this integrate with some projects that may have been contracted but not yet started? Simple answer there, I mentioned it a minute ago, is there's no reason this could not occur in parallel to a full implementation of PLL. So the idea there would be to get your online portal and those quick win, high volume, high value permits into the system. We're not going to go and look at the workflow on the back end, but simply the permit intake process and fee payment and issuing permits. So next,
real quick, Lou, and the key behind this is, you know, you don't lose anything by going through. The way we're structuring this is so that you get something up and running quickly, and then it's scalable to take it pretty much wherever you want to take it from that point forward.
Correct. Thanks, Ron. Next question is kind of a follow-on to the previous one. Could we start with a simple process and transition to a more complex process later on? Absolutely. So the answer there is a quick yes. Next question. So can we do rapid implementation now and then switch to full implementation where we receive and control everything at a later date? The quick answer there, again, is a yes. This can be done in parallel. Would allow you to have a public-facing tool to ingest permits. And again, we could do the full implementation of PLL in parallel to this. All right, next question. Can the applicant or applicants usually require attachments? How would those be handled in this process? Matt showed that in the demo. So if there are follow-on questions to that, I would go ahead and direct you to my contact information, and you could get a hold of me for detailed information on that. Next question. What if the applicant does not know the address? Would TMP work? I'm assuming TMP is tile map package. I'm not sure. But as Matt showed, we can utilize your existing map services and or a Esri base map. Matt, Michael, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, Lou. So the address is optional, right? If they don't have the address, they don't have to enter that in there to submit an application. So I think the short answer is it's fine, right? And then the applicant would submit what they know, and then you can, as a, in the back office editing the permit, you could update the address when you know that and add that to the application, or just a brief description of the location. So.
Great. All right, the next question is, how customizable is the permitting interface? So again, Matt showed you Alpharetta's version. Certain branding areas within the application, we have full capability of modifying those. As far as getting into details, we do want to keep this simple. Matt or Michael, I don't know if you wanted to add anything here.
Yeah, I think, over the long term, it's really highly customizable. But in the immediate term, we'd want to limit that, right? Because our goal is speed of deployment. But as far as, you can hide fields, you can add fields, you can make fields required. It's really flexible in how you set up the interface.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, the permitting portal is a reflection of the way Cityworks gets configured for the in-office use, for the office application and the tablet application that Matt showed you. So as that gets configured, those configurations are reflected within the website itself. So, all right, next question. Is there a file size limit? Matt, I'm going to hand that one right over to you.
Yeah, so there's a preference that you can set in the permit portal, on that online portal, that you define the size that you want to take. So, we'd recommend keeping that file size limit lower, but it is a preference.
Thanks, Matt. Next question. Can the system be updated to require the applicant to enter a parcel ID instead of an address? I believe that answer is yes. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, we can add a field that requests this, and so it's required for them to fill that out on the application, that project data section of the permit.
Okay, great. Next question. Need to provide some size info on files. We are working on old laptops that do not allow for large document downloads. I think that was answered previously by Matt with the preference setting on the file size type. If that's not answering the question, go ahead and reach out to us and we can answer that one more fully. Next question. How does a resident add in information? For instance, they draw their deck on a piece of paper but don't have ability to scan or create digitally. That's an interesting question.
So, that would be hard, right? If they don't have a cell phone, like a phone that can, with a camera on it, that would be my first suggestion, is they draw it, take a picture of it, and upload the picture. And so But part of the goal is to eliminate that paper handoff. And so, you know, that would be kind of my advice, is to help, hey, just take a picture of the drawn plan set and upload that to their permit application.
All right, thanks, Matt. All right, the next question, what are the different payment options? Is Tyler Munis compatible? So the quick answer here is that there are 2 out of the box with this particular program. The longer answer here is that Tyler Munis can be integrated to the system, but that would be outside of the scope of this particular offering. Anything to add there, Matt or Michael?
Yeah, the 2 types that are out of the box are the PayPal that I showed, and then authorize.net, which is a Visa online payment gateway. So that would be the, you know, what Lou's offering here in this kind of quick deployment.
Thanks, Matt. All right, so next question. Can it be set up to be for the payment permit to be approved before paid? So I know this is more of a workflow question. So the answer is yes. So that dependency would just have to be built into the workflow and then within the configuration itself.
Yeah, so for your simple permits, you know, again, that status can govern when you're taking payments or not. And so, yeah, Lou, the short answer is yes. You know, you can require a approval prior to payment being made.
All right. Next question. Many of our fees are complex to calculate. How would that part be done quickly and speak to the treasurer's office so it is credited to the correct amount or correct account? I'm sorry. Yes, sometimes fee schedules are very complex. We've done some pretty complex ones in the past. I think this would be something that we would have to discuss with you through the scope of this particular offering. And again, with those high value, high volume permit types, how that affects your fee schedule. And then how do they get credited to the correct account? We could easily add a account field to the permit intake process that one of your permit clerks would fill out, and it could go to the correct account in that way. So I think this is we need to see what exactly we're talking about as we get into the deployment with you.
Yeah, let me add a thought too. So if you have a permitting system right now that is automatically calculating your permit fees, then, you know, yeah, that needs further discussion. But a lot of times organizations that don't have a permitting system are using an Excel sheet to calculate their fees. And so if they are complex, you know, what I would say is the quick solution is, well, do what you're doing today, right? Calculate your fees on your Excel sheet or how that's being done, and then transfer that dollar amount into a single fee code in Cityworks that you can charge to the permit. And so, you know, again, it's, you know, long term, yeah, we can replicate and do that calculation for you, but in the immediate need, that you could copy paste the dollar amount that you need to charge into the application. And then as far as the Treasury office, there is reports, so financial reports that can summarize fees collected against account codes. And so that's a standard report. And then Lou, I'll take the next one. It's kind of similar to this. So what if you don't want the applicant to pay until the permit has gone through the entire review process? Now this is because sometimes by the time the application is approved, the fees have changed. Yeah, that's very common. Okay, your review will end up changing what the fee you charge. And so as we said earlier, it's all on that status, right? When we're gonna add the fee to the permit, and then when we're gonna say, okay, you know, go and pay them.
All right, thank you, Matt. Okay, the next question. So we start to get into some of the computing environment here. So Question is the data housed on internal networks, or is Cityworks the host of cloud data? So this is a SaaS type offering for this particular program. It is Cityworks Online, which is hosted within their AWS environment. So that's the quick answer there. Let's see, next question. How are permits beyond the initial 10 added to the system? So this program, the offering is for 10. Beyond that, we would have to look at kind of a phase 2 that we talked about, you know, something that could happen in parallel or down the road. All right, which version of Cityworks is required to have the dashboard? Do you recommend the dashboard respond versus office mode with PLL? So I'll hit this, and then Matt, I'm sure you're going to want to chime in here. So which version of Cityworks is required to have the dashboard? This particular program is the most recent version of Cityworks. And if you choose to go with this program, you would always be on the most recent version that is within the Cityworks Online environment. Do you recommend the dashboard or respond versus office mode with PLL? I'll just give you my quick answer to that. I would definitely recommend respond over the office version. I think respond looks nicer, is easier to use. However, there may be some types of things that you're going to want to do in the office mode that get into a little bit more of the tool set that's available. So Matt, you want to add?
Yeah. So this is, you know, you're most likely the person that asked this question is most likely a current customer of Cityworks. And so we just talked to you about, you know, the various options here. So, yeah, we can take this one a little bit more offline too, directly with them. So.
Okay. All right, next question. This is a good one. In the short term, this would mean managing 2 systems. There will be questions about how the mismatch of data can be combined at some point in time. Michael, Matt, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, for me, it comes down to that priority matrix. You know, what we're proposing is, as I think Lou, you said earlier, it's a radical idea. You know, I put it as a paradigm shift. It's what are we doing in the immediate term? What can we do quickly versus long term? Long term, yeah, we can work out, you know, data migration and so forth from the existing system into Cityworks. But in the immediate term, you know, prioritizing on the quick wins, you know, and the high volume permits, while keeping your kind of your back office process, you know, largely the same as it is today.
Okay. Next question. Is this customizable for permits that have 2 components, development and building, i.e. a single family dwelling requires development approval? Once approved by the development, the permit continues to building where a plan exam is done and approval given to applicant to start construction. We usually take the fees for both development and building at time of application. So quick answer for me here is that this comes back to the workflow. So the workflow could go through multiple departments and have multiple dependencies as to when it gets approved, when fees are taken, et cetera. So yes, it could be configured to meet this requirement. Matt, Michael, any comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, Cityworks is a full service permitting community development solution. And so the full functionality suite set supports this process. It's balancing, right, what we're talking about here, right? Quick deployment with the long-term solution. And so hopefully that gives you an idea of, you know, immediate and now. And I think it's safe to say that, you know, you don't have to do the immediate kind of quick deployment in the next 30 days that we're showcasing here. And we are certainly happy to do a more traditional implementation of Cityworks to handle that workflow, all the workflow steps. So.
Okay. Next question. In the case summary, it appeared that when it was collapsed or expanded, that all the categories collapsed or expanded. Is that the only option? So that's a respond function that I'm not completely familiar with. So Matt?
Yeah, so the case summary, so you have the option to collapse all of them at the same time or expand all of them at the same time, or you could do it by individual panel. So my demo, I just collapsed it in all of them versus one at a time. So it's a preference, it's an option.
Okay, let's see, next question. Can a case be assigned to more than one person? I don't know this answer, Matt.
So the assignment that I showed you, right, in the kind of the basic permit application, the permit has that one person who's assigned to it. In a full deployment, that permit may have multiple tasks on it with multiple departments and multiple assignees on those tasks. So again, it's the balance of, you know, full deployment versus quick wins and what we can do in the next 30 days. So the answer to that question is yes. It's just, you know, how we end up deploying it.
Hey, real quick, Lou. Okay, so it's almost 3 o'clock, which was Eastern Standard Time, which was the stopping point of this. We are going to continue going and answering all your questions, so keep them coming. We are taping this, so you will be receiving a link to that recording so that you'll be able to, if you have to jump off at 3 o'clock, we completely understand. We will send you a link to the recording so that you can listen to the rest of the questions, stuff like that. If you want to stay on, we should be going probably, I would think with the questions coming in, probably till about 3:30 or so. So, okay, Lou, keep going.
Yeah, and for those who do stick around, Ron has promised, because you voted that he's going to need a talent scout, he will send you an autographed picture of himself.
No. All right, go, Lou.
All right. Next question. What about contract extensions? So I'm not exactly sure the question here. So the program we're offering is valid for 1 year. So that $25,000 gives you this system and its configuration and training for 1 year. Beyond that, I'm sure we could talk about what the cost would be beyond that point.
Yeah, well, if she's talking about the contract for Cityworks, then yes. Yeah, our goal is a long-term relationship with your organization. If you're talking about a permit contract extension, right, where the permit may need to be extended for various reasons, then yeah, that functionality can be established within the solution as well.
Okay, that was just my business development mind working on that one. Sorry. All right, next question, and this looks like a very nice compliment. We've got an overall pretty cool and very easy, so thank you. All right, next question. For applications that require amendments or additional plans, is it a simple process? In development planning, we often go through many versions of site plans. So the quick answer there that I do know is that, again, this is a configuration setting where we might require the additional amendments based upon the review process and what steps it has to go through for approval. So.
Yeah, so that's a good, I just say that's a good question for like follow-up demo, where we could give your organization a full demo of Cityworks and its solutions to handle that back and forth. So yeah, you know, reach out and we can show you, you know, how it handles that.
All right. Next question, does the system route permits to staff, or does only a data collection and payment solution? So quick answer there is that yes, you can route it to specific staff resources.
Yeah, and it's really about, you know, turning on functionality. So, you know, if we think about what we can do in the next 30 days, well, we can't configure, you know, all your dozens of permit types with all their complex workflows and fees in 30 days. But we can do the data collection and payment, right? And then we can, you know, add layers of functionality down the road.
All right. Next question, can related documents be set to be required, if it is not already, before an application fee is submitted to ensure an incomplete application is not submitted? So I believe the answer there is correct. If your application does not fit or meet all of the criteria that are configured in the system, it would be considered incomplete.
Yeah, the answer to that is just yes. Yep, we can require documents before it gets submitted.
Yeah. And the next follow-up to that is, can additional staff acceptance step be included to ensure we are not held by code time obligations when the application is technically not complete, but we have accepted it via the software? The answer there is yes, you can do that, so that it's through your reporting, you would only track once the application is fully complete versus a incomplete application.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Currently, our traffic control just changed the date on the program we use, but we would like to track those changes without losing the initial dates given. Michael, Matt?
So, yeah, there's a couple of ways we could handle this, you know, through the fields we create. So the short answer is yeah, it's just how we configure the software and the dates that we're going to collect. So.
Yeah, there's a pretty extensive audit trail in Cityworks to track things that are modified and who did that.
Okay. Next question, and this is an interesting one. How have you all dealt with customer frustration of only a few items being moved forward and everything else on the new normal? Seems like more concern since it is not for everyone. So we haven't deployed the system yet. Today's the reveal for this particular packaging. So I can't say we've had any customer frustration yet. Hopefully we're not going to have any. I do know that I can state examples of the opposite happening, where those sites that are live with a online permitting solution that I've spoken to have praised its compatibility to what's going on right now. It's allowed their staff to continue working. It's allowed development to continue, permits to be issued. So that would be my answer to this. Matt, Michael, I don't know if, or Ron, you have any thoughts on this?
It all depends on how the question's being, how the meaning behind the question, and that's one of the problems with, you know, going through and doing it this way. But you know, from our perspective, you know, the people that are going to jump on this are the ones that are meeting a lot of frustration right now, just because nothing is happening right now. I mean, a lot of permitting systems just were not built for this type of environment, and they're pretty much shut down, and everything's being done by paper now. And processing of payments is just about impossible. You know, just that's where a lot of the frustration coming in, and that's why, you know, we developed this program so that, you know, for the critical, you know, permits, we can get those up, we can get those running, we can get that revenue flow going, and then as things start loosening up, you can go through and start adding more onto it, extending it out, and really creating the system that you're really looking for at the end of the day. But you know, what we're trying to do now is really meet the frustrations that people are having because they just can't do anything right now because, like I said, the system, when they put it in place, never thought of something like this happening.
Yeah, I'll just kind of echo, you know, the last sentence there. Seems like more concern since it is not for everyone, and that's probably true, right? This rapid deployment may not be the best solution for your organization now. You may prefer a more detailed implementation where we do cover all the bases and we don't leave any items behind. And so again, just, you know, reach out to us and we can talk about, you know, that type of approach to answer this, you know, the need as well.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, and the next question is a good segue to that. Question is, I'm assuming this won't work if we're not online. We have internal servers for our Citywork installation now. That is correct. I think we would probably want to speak with you. There's no reason you couldn't get your PLL portal stood up and truncate or really expedite the process of doing that through a similar type approach. So we'd love to talk to you one-on-one as well. All right, next question. On the case summary page, how many people can be assigned to review a permit? I didn't see an option to assign to more than one reviewer. Thanks. Matt, I think this goes back to the previous question where you can assign it to more than one person.
Correct. Yeah. Through configuration, you can add additional people, or as I said earlier, some tasks as well to track who needs to look at this.
All right, so the next question is, can the streamlined implementation accommodate more than 10 permits? So within the package we're offering, 10 would be the box we put around it. Now, it doesn't mean that we couldn't continue working with you to get more built, do that in parallel with the offering of this package. So
yeah, it would just be an additional fee.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Right. I mean, the big thing here is, we're putting a box around 10 just because that seems like a really good number to meet the 30-day, deadline that we kind of set for ourselves. But that doesn't mean that, we can't sit down and talk through, a scenario that works a little bit better for you. So, I mean, it just comes down to us reaching out to you and having a conversation.
All right. Another good segue to the next question. So, will you explain how this is different than the full implementation of PLL? Does this version track tasks? So, quick answer here is that this is a truncated deployment. It's Cityworks PLL Online in the Cityworks online environment. You would be able to collect permit fees and process payments, and then have access to respond to process those payments within your office. That is very different than a full-scale implementation of PLL. And if you have questions about that, we'd love to talk to you in more detail about it. But this is a very limited approach. It's a quick 30-day turnaround. So it's not the full enterprise type solution that PLL traditionally has been. And does this version track tasks? So quick answer there is yes, through the configuration changes that we could employ that we showed to you for the 10 that you would choose to do. All right, next question. Is there other licensing fees for the city users? If so, how much? Let's see. So the assumption here is that you're already using Esri tools. If you're not, there may be additional fees for that, as Cityworks is built upon the Esri platform. Let's see. I don't think any other fees would be involved. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, it's so the base fee that the software we're licensing for you from Cityworks is 5 logins of the Cityworks PLL Respond application for internal city staff to use, and then the public portal, which would include unlimited public users to add that to submit applications. So if you had additional users, there'd be an additional fee. But as far as third-party licensing and other, that wouldn't apply if you've got some Esri licensing already. So.
All right. Next question. How does this permitting application integrate with Cityworks service requests? For example, could we have a service request auto-created when a customer submits a permit application and have the site plan attached to the service request for viewing in the field? So thank you for the commercial and Cityworks functionality. This is all correct. And we could set that up within those 10 that you would choose if that is involved within that workflow. Matt, Michael, I don't know if you had any other comments on this one.
No, I mean, the functionality you request there is supported in Cityworks, where you can, a permit can automatically create a service request. It's just, implementation, right? And kind of the theme here is, what's the priority, and compared to this kind of offering for the $25,000 versus, additional functionality we can turn on down the road. But yeah, the short answer, yes, we could do that, through a more traditional implementation type.
All right, next question. What would be the exact scope of the project? I think I've outlined that a couple times now. Basically, it's Cityworks PLL Online with the portal. It's your top 10, whatever we decide those are going to be based upon value and volume. And then collecting payments for those permits online, having access to Cityworks PLL Respond within the office to process those permits, and the 2 days of training would be included with that as well. So the following question of that is, along with that, what would represent an expansion of scope of work? So basically anything outside of those parameters would represent an expansion of scope.
Yeah, and one of the things, Lou, that you said was, when we say we, we're meaning, both parties on the 10 permits with things. Obviously we're going to sit down with you. Hopefully you've gone through the mental game that Matt had earlier with going through and prioritizing your permits. And it's just really sitting down with you and saying, hey, listen, how much real impact is that going to have? If you say it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to have everything, then it becomes one of the 10. I mean, Timmons Group and Cityworks are not going to decide for you, which permits, that are part of the program and which ones aren't. I mean, that's going to be really you deciding that, and us just helping you through that thought process.
Yeah, and I like the last question, what would represent an expansion of scope of work? I think a lot of questions have asked for additional functionality. And one area would be expanding this, which of course would, add cost to the project, but online inspection management, where the customer can request an inspection online, and that can be processed through a mobile app by your inspector. So that, is a natural extension or expansion of this deployment. And our goal would be to configure that. But doing all that in 30 days for your entire department is hard, right? Well, it's unrealistic. And so we're trying to, piece what we can now, and then, add that down the road.
Yeah.
And then
I think another point to add to that, Matt, is this is designed for rapid deployment. It's designed to address specific issues that are occurring right now because of the situation we're all in. This is by no means a traditional deployment. So one of the big areas that we would not get into with this deployment would be your workflows and documenting workflows, and basically going through those and improving your workflows based upon the best practices that we know within the industry, as well as the capabilities of Cityworks, so it's leveraged to its full extent. All right, so next question. Can you select something on the map, say a parcel? Can you select multiple? Matt, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, you can select any of your features in your GIS and attach those to permits. So, if you're a city and it's a community development, that's usually parcel or address points. But if you're a utility or public works, that might be a road segment. For right-of-way permits, that might be a pipe for a water tap. But yeah, your GIS is linked right to the permit application.
All right, so here comes a good question. From the rapid implementation to total implementation, how much is the difference in total cost today? So very good question. What we're offering, gone over that, it's $25,000. A full implementation would cost you a signing of run to a professional services, I guess, gig somewhere. I'm just kidding. I think that's a good question. I would be willing to sit down with you and talk to you about ranges of costs that could cost, because we have to start looking at things like I just mentioned, looking at workflows and how those get configured within Cityworks. Obviously, you're going to have more than 10 permits. We talked about fee calculations, getting those built in. Are there integrations to other systems you're interested in? Are you looking at converting data, et cetera? So all those things are very typical to a PLL implementation project, which honestly, a typical PLL implementation project, you're looking anywhere from 10 months at the very, quickest to around 14 to 16 months for a more complex project. So the cost would be, obviously it's higher to do that versus a rapid implementation. So Michael, Ron, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
No, I think that that's pretty good. It really comes down to there's so many different variables that go into that question that it's really sitting down with you and, figuring out what your environment looks like. And then at that point, we can give you a much better answer.
All right, next question. Can this be utilized for plan submittals, and does size slow the program or process? So the quick answer here is that you can submit plans. Matt showed you that in the demo. Does size slow the program? I think that would be a capacity issue that we'd have to look at the Cityworks online specs for that. But Matt did talk about how you can set up size limitations for that. And if you're starting to talk about electronic plan review, that's a whole different subject with document management that be happy to talk to you about as well. We do have a integration to Highland OnBase that exists. That's pretty much out of the box. So be happy to talk to you.
And Cityworks being, SaaS, so it's an online app. It's Amazon Web Services hosts our cloud environment. So it's more, what's the internet speed of the applicant? That is what's going to drive their speed. Uploading a 500 megabyte file to Cityworks over a slow internet connection that'll slow it. But that's more the internet connection of the customer or at your city versus just the Cityworks application.
All right, next question. Where does the payment go since it cannot be integrated into systems at this point, and how do you track it? So Matt, I'm going to give this one over to you.
Yeah, so you'll have a merchant account with either PayPal or Authorize.net. You can have your own merchant account and link that to the payment gateway between those two systems. And so the money ultimately goes to that account. And then through, the basic financial reporting, you can summarize fees collected against account code, in Cityworks.
All right, and that's related to the next question. Can the portal user get access to and pay for permits online that were not previously submitted through the portal? Matt, I'm not sure how that works within your portal.
Yes, so if you fill out an application or enter a permit in Cityworks, the core app, you can add the public user as a people person, a role code on that permit, and then they could log in and see it. So the short answer is yes.
Okay. All right, the next question comes from my favorite Cincinnati Bengals fan. Good job on your #1 draft pick. Let's see. Is there a time limit for use on the Cityworks PLL Online? So the license would be for 1 year. And as Matt has stated previously, we would want to have a long-term relationship with you. So extending it beyond that is completely yes. So, okay, next question. Is it anticipated to eventually have a contractor registration? Can't talk. Is it anticipated to eventually have a contractor registration feature in the portal? Let's see, the comment is needed if contractors must be registered before being able to submit a permit. Let's see, I understand the question, and I know we can do that as a contingency upon being able to apply for a permit. Is that correct, Matt?
So yeah, the contractor registration, so that application, that form they fill out, would actually just be its own activity type that we could configure. So that's something that could be supported now. And you create an application form to collect that contractor information.
Okay. Yeah, and that's overlapping to the next question. Is there any way to make location required when submitting a permit? So yes, we would just make that field required. All right, next question. Do the 10 permits include building and MEP as one permit type or 4 separate types? Very good question. I think we would have to look at this with you to see what kind of level of effort was involved within those permits. All right, next question. How would contractor license lookup be coordinated before permit is issued? I'm going to give this over to Michael or Matt.
Yeah, so in this deployment, it would be whatever you're doing now, right? If you go to the state website to verify their license, that would be kind of the immediate. Long term, we've actually got a pretty cool effort going on in the state of Indiana, where we've got a city who's using Cityworks, and there's an integration between Cityworks and the state's contractor licensing system. And so there's some automation there. So long term, as we've kind of keep reiterating, that's possible. In the short term, whatever you're doing now.
All right, next question. Can the email notifications return values in the subject line, like permit number? I believe that's possible, but Matt, you want to answer that one?
I'm going to say we can follow up with you to verify that for sure, but I think so. Yes, you do have kind of subject line control, and then certainly in the body of the permit, you can also pull fields into that email the body of the email into the email. The subject line, we can follow up with that just to be 100% sure.
All right, next question. What sort of training is available to users submitting applications? Just thinking about how to roll out to our local residents and builders. Do you have YouTube videos, et cetera? So I mentioned there would be 2 days of training for internal staff. Michael, what level of training have we had to provide to residents and or developers in the past?
Yeah, Lou, it's fairly common for us to develop videos or tutorials of portal functionality that you can deploy out to your city website or a location where you have training materials.
Okay, thanks, Michael. All right, next question. How does a portal handle creation of child permits? Matt, Michael?
Yeah, so in this offer, I don't know that we would go through the child permit configuration, maybe, but in the long term, how does it handle it? So the applicant can create a child permit off of a parent, and you can also, the customer could also link 2 permitting activities together, and then of course that could also be done by you as a staff member just using Cityworks in the back office.
Thanks, Matt. All right, so next is a statement, and I'm surprised it comes from my favorite Bengals fan who's saying the Ravens rock and are the best team in football. That's interesting. Just kidding. All right, next question. Does Cityworks or Timmons have the capability to provide a customer tutorial for customers setting up new accounts? So I think Michael just covered that one. That's entirely possible, and we would do that within this scope as well. All right, next question. Do you have any current Canadian customers? The answer, Timmons Group does, and I know Cityworks does as well. So I'm not sure if anybody in Canada is using the Cityworks PLL Online Portal or not. Matt?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We can connect you with our distributor in Canada, as well as our international business development person to confirm that. But to Lou's point, the short answer is yes. But the extent of their use of Cityworks, we can follow up with you.
All right. That concludes all 52 questions that were asked.
Wow. Certainly a lot of interest in this. Matt, Lou, Ron, anything else to add?
No, I'll just say, the goal here is what can we do to help in the immediate term, but then ultimately it's that long-term sustained success to help you build resilient communities for forever. And that's really our goal as a company, is to provide solutions to help organizations, connect digitally with their customers. And so thank you for the time from me, from Matt here at Cityworks. Lou, why don't you wrap us up, man?
Yeah, in closing, I just want to say thank you for those that have hung on for 90 minutes now. We certainly appreciate it. And again, as Matt said, it's really our passion to help you. We did look around, and like I started at the beginning, we've heard this frustration, and we kicked around an idea for a couple of days. We were like, there's got to be something we can do to help people and help them quickly. So that's what this program is designed around. It's designed to be low cost, high impact, and to provide some relief to local governments quickly. Beyond that, we're talking about other things, other types of projects, but really this is focused at a quick solution to the frustration that you might be feeling, or your developers and citizens are feeling. So that's the focus of this. And we certainly hope to hear from you. We do want to help, so please reach out to us. My contact info is still up on the screen, and we'd love to hear from you.
All right, Greg, why don't you wrap it up for us?
All right, guys, thanks again for attending. Next couple of days, we'll be sending out a link to a recording of this webinar. And once again, thank you all for attending, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
All right, thank you.